All right, welcome back to Providence PPM. Today we're going to look at the project life cycle. So that spans everything from your project intake or pipeline to portfolio demand, which is the evaluation process page, and then into the project list and doing kind of an initial project setup. So we'll assign a project manager. We will go through some of the different metadata fields in the project details page and just briefly look at each of the project pages. We're not going to go into super detail on each of them in this video, but we'll kind of quickly run through what they are once the project is created. So overall, just kind of looking at the project creation process, both from a project pipeline perspective as well as we'll look at the manual creation process too. So let's go ahead and get signed in. All right, so we're back to our project list page as we have been with our previous videos since it's the landing page. And we're going to go ahead and use the portfolios and metrics that we set up in the last video for our demo business unit. We set up the new product development portfolio, and we set up the 5-year revenue, strategic alignment, and technical competency metrics. So those will be what we will use for our intake test here today. So let's go to our intake page. And so we can see we haven't set up any project requests for this portfolio yet, or this business unit rather. If I go to a different one that I've previously set up, you'll see that I can see ones that I have previously submitted. And in our current one, the demo business unit, we just haven't set any up yet. So let's go ahead and create our first project. So you can do it down here, or you can do it with the new proposed project button. Let's go ahead and click that there. So we'll just call this new product 1. And it's just a description of the project. So this normally this would be a pretty detailed description so that the reviewers and the people that are going to be looking at this understand what exactly is being asked, what exactly the project is going to entail. But for now, we will just do a brief description here. So develop and launch a new product. And we can go ahead and link this to the strategic goal that we previously set up for this business unit. So we'll go ahead and do that. That will play in later when we look at the analytics, and we'll cover that in another video. All right, we're going to go ahead and select our portfolio. So the only one we've set up for this business unit is our new product development portfolio. So we select that. And as we can see, as soon as we do that, the metrics that we set up for that portfolio become available for us to fill out. So we'll go ahead and fill in our 5-year revenue. So we'll just say it's 1.5 million over the course of the next 5 years that we're going to generate. The strategic alignment, let's say that it's high since it's aligned with our strategic goal that we set up. And our technical competency, let's say that we're moderately competent in this area. It's a little bit of a stretch for us, but it's, we're moderately confident in this area of the technology. Completion description. So this field is for the reviewers and even really for the project team once it comes to an active project to understand what the vision of done looks like. Now for a new product development project like this, that's relatively straightforward, although it may depend on your organization for how you want to set these projects up. But for most product development projects, it's really the done is when the product is launched, it's been commercialized. So we'll go ahead and just do that for this, but for other projects, it may not be quite as straightforward. So it's always best practice to have a strong idea when you're requesting a project of, in your mind, what does done really look like for the project? How will we know that we're done with the project? So this project will be complete when the new product has been fully launched and is commercially available for purchase. All right, and then we have our proposed budget. So these are just high-level budget numbers, labor, OPEX, CAPEX. So just so that the reviewers have some idea of what the baseline estimates are for how much this is really going to cost to do. From all of these different perspectives. So labor obviously being your manpower, OPEX being things like raw materials or just other things you may have to buy in order to get the project done that are not necessarily large capital purchases, hence the CapEx category. So this would be large pieces of equipment or facilities expansions, things like that. So we'll just go ahead and put some numbers in here. We'll just say 300,000. Obviously that would be very low for an actual development project, but this is just an example. So OpEx, let's call it, we need about $25,000 worth of materials, and then we need to purchase, let's say, a new smaller piece of equipment, and that's going to cost us $15,000, just for an estimate. All right, now we come over to our proposed resources. So in this area, the requester can actually put the names of people that they want on the project. So you can see our test user that we previously set up for this set of demos, set of videos we're doing. So we'll go ahead and put them in there. And we'll say that the start date of this project, the requested start date, is next week. And we think that's going to run through the rest of the year. So we'll just call that December 31st. And we think over the course of the project, this user is probably going to be needed about 30% of their time. So we'll just add that resource allocation. Then we can take another one, let's say Jacob Taylor. Let's say he's going to be on this project 25% of his time over that same duration. And let's take Miranda. She's going to be on it for 35% of her time. And we're going to put Liara on it. She's an R&D, we know, so we're going to go ahead and say she's 40% since it's a new product development project. And then we're going to say John Shepard is going to be our project manager, so he's probably going to need to be on this, let's call it 30% of his time, just over that duration. So that just gets us a rough estimate, kind of the initial ask for resources coming into this project request. So once we're done filling all this out, we'll hit Submit Request. And we'll get the little toast, project request received, and we can see it on our intake page that we have submitted this. We could see the pending status of this has not been reviewed or dispositioned by the portfolio demand team yet. You can see the calculated score, though, based on the metrics that we set up. So this is a 4.6 out of 5, so pretty good. So with that, we can actually edit it if we have to. If there's something that we realize, oh, we forgot to put something in the budget, or we something has changed with the metrics, we can adjust those and click Save Changes, and it will recalculate when we save it. But for now, we'll just leave it as it is. So let's jump over to the portfolio demand page, and we can see there's this little flashing icon here. So the portfolio managers and admins will see that if there is something in this page to review. So on this page, the portfolio manager for the business unit will see any projects that are pending review, as well as any that have been dispositioned previously through this portfolio demand process. Now, they will only be able to see business units that they own, so they may not necessarily be able to switch up here. Obviously, as an admin, I can switch between any of them, but the portfolio manager will only be able to see portfolios that he or she owns. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So we see our pending project, so let's open it up, and we can see everything that was entered on that intake page. We can see our calculated score. We can see our metric values. So we see the 5-year revenue, 1.5 million. We see the technical competency. We're moderately competent. We can see the calculated score based on that. We see our strategic alignment is high, so that's another score there. And that's what all, based on the weights that we set up in the previous video, that's what gets us our calculated score here. One thing to note is that the executive team does have the option if, let's say, something comes up that they say, no, you know what, we don't really care what the score is. This is a company priority. This is something we absolutely must do. So we're going to throw it to the top of the list. We can always hit this override score here and hit edit. And let's say that, if the top score is a 5, we're going to put it at 4.99. So we're going to go ahead and save that. So now it'll be basically, top of the portfolio, unless there's a 5.0 that they want to put above that. We can see our linked strategic goals here, so we know that this project is associated with at least one of our business unit strategic goals. So that's how we can know that, say we see that high strategic alignment score. We can see the proposed budget for the various categories. We say, okay, we have a reasonable idea of what this might cost to develop this product and launch it. We see our proposed resources that were entered. We see how many roughly hours per day and working days over the course of that time period, and that does take into account the holidays that we had previously entered on our portfolio setup pages, total hours per person that are going to be needed. At this point, our premium users can actually access our Resource Impact tab, and that will show you exactly what the existing commitments are for each user that's being requested, as well as the new request. So you can see here on, say, Jacob Taylor, this little plus 25%. So you can see all the things that he is already allocated to over the next 12 weeks. We can even extend this out to 26 weeks if that's helpful for the visual. And it just shows, what they're already committed to, and it gives the review team an idea. Okay, can we even start this with these proposed resources? Are there other resources we can look at? And if there aren't, do we need to reprioritize a different project based on our executive override here that this is actually a top priority project? Or do we make the decision like, what, we would really like to start it, but we can't until probably around the end of June, when most of these resources get a little bit of bandwidth, maybe even later, depending on how much bandwidth it's really going to take from them. Might be more in the August time frame that that this is going to be possible. But for the moment, let's assume that we can start this, regardless of these allocation numbers here. But this is a very, very helpful screen, I think, for the review team, just to get a strong idea of what's possible. So we'll go ahead and assume we could start it. So we'll set our disposition, and we will go ahead and click Approved. And we will say Approved to Start Project. And now here we can add our reviewers. So I'm going to go ahead and add my admin account just as the only reviewer, but we can add whichever users are assigned to that business unit. Actually, we can assign any that are in the system even. So this is really going to be helpful for your review team so that you can select those stakeholders that are making that go, no-go decision, and they can be captured as those reviewers. So I will go ahead and click Save here, and I can, you can add them one at a time, and just, and you can even delete them if you need to. But once you have selected all your reviewers, we're going to go ahead and submit our disposition, and this will set it to approved. You see the toast, and we see the new project created here, new product 1 created successfully. So we'll go ahead and close this. And we can see down here that it also captures, the disposition date, as well as the reviewers here of who was actually the review team. So let's go ahead and close this. And let's go ahead and jump over to our project list now. So now we can see that our new project has been created automatically since it's been approved through portfolio demand. So you can see here on this page now you can filter by status, so active, so it is active. On hold, canceled, completed. So just, you can filter kind of just by the projects you want to see at any given time. Now, as a portfolio manager, you'll be able to see all the projects. Project managers will be able to see projects that they own, and then team members will only be able to see projects that they are assigned to. And of course, admins can see everything across all business units, but most people are only going to have that either project manager or team member view, so that's what they will be able to see. But let's go ahead and click on our project, and we can see as it comes up here on the project details page, the phases that we previously set up for the PMO phases. Had we set up PDP phases like concept, feasibility, development, etc., we could actually click this button right here and it would switch over to those phases. And it's interchangeable. You can click back and forth. But once you've decided, just you click that Save Project Details button and it'll save those. So on this page, what we can do is we can define our project settings. So is this a waterfall project? Is it an agile project? Is it a hybrid? Do we need to use both agile and waterfall for different things? So that is configurable here, and I'll show you on the project detail page here in a minute, or the project schedule page, I'm sorry, what that means. Budget forecast source. So what this is going to do is, this is going to let you decide, are we going to look at the higher level resource allocations that we can do on the resource allocation page, or are we going to look at individual Gantt line items to determine our forecasted cost? It's really just a budgeting tool. It depends on how granular you'd like to get. Either solution works just fine. This also will affect your resource allocation, so we just have to take that into account as we look at our analytics later, that this is what's going to determine which source the resource allocation data is going to be pulled from. So in here we can see our project name, so new product 1, automatic generated project number, project start date, finish date, and baseline finish. So none of these are populated because we haven't set up our project schedule yet, but we will do that in just a little while. Project owner, so this is where the portfolio manager would come in and decide, okay, who's the owner, who's the PM for the project. I'm going to go ahead and assign Mr. Shepard to this project as the PM, and it automatically sets it to active, as I mentioned previously. It is currently set to a waterfall methodology. We'll look at that change in just a second. So here we have fields for the scope, assumptions, constraints, completion definition, and this pulls over from the portfolio intake and portfolio demand so that the assigned PM has an idea right away kind of what the review team was evaluating as far as when the project is complete or considered complete, and that can at least be a baseline for him or her to start planning the project. We now have our health status bars or icons here, and most of these are auto-calculated based on various things. The overall health just kind of looks at all of the various status bars here, so schedule, resource, scope, budget, risk. Scope is the only one that is manual. We're going to go ahead and set it to green for now, just because there's potentially ways to calculate this, but for the moment it's just a manual selection. Project team. So right now what we need to do is we're going to go ahead and add our team members. So we're going to add an executive sponsor, and I'm going to just set my admin account to this as the admin. So I'm set as the executive sponsor for the project. And then we're going to go ahead and add a core team member. We will set the test user as a core team member. We will set another core team member with Miranda. We will set an extended team member. We'll set Mr. Taylor. And then we'll set as another core team member Liara, because that was the original request from the requester. And then just for fun, we'll add a planning resource, and we will put in a sterilization vendor because we know this project is going to require some sterilization for the product. So we'll go ahead and add them as a planning resource. Project stakeholders, we can add whoever we like here. We'll just add David Anderson as a potential stakeholder. You can add whoever you'd like. It's really just for capturing who the stakeholders are for the project, so that the project manager or project owner knows who they've got to keep informed, who they've got to manage as far as stakeholders. So the other things on this page that we'll look at just briefly, I'm not going to show too much of the functionality at the moment. I'll show it in a different video, but we have these buttons up here. So generate draft project charter, send high level update, generate detailed project update. These are all pieces of automation that allow the project manager, once they've got this information down here in the scope, assumptions, constraints, completion definition, once they've got a schedule defined, once they've got some information in the budget, they can click that button. The program will export a Word document that is a project charter, a draft project charter, that has most of the major information filled out based on what's been entered here. And they can use that as their starting point, at least, for getting a project charter signed off by their management. If that is something that your company does, I highly recommend that you do that. That's always best practice. But that it's a good starting point, and it's got a template format that is based on just industry best practice. So very useful button for the project manager there. The send high level update button, what that does is when you click it, it will just ask you, okay, who do you want to send a quick update to? It's really just going to be the timeline, so project milestones, what's been completed, what's still outstanding, tasks being started in the next couple of weeks. It's just a quick little 2-slide deck, but you can add whatever other details in the message you'd like to add. If there's external email addresses you'd like to send, let's say you've got a customer project that you're doing and you'd like to send your customer just a quick, hey, here's this week where things are at. You can enter their email addresses and it will send them that same deck. So again, useful little piece of automation here just to keep people informed. The generate detailed project update, this is for your big, monthly portfolio review meeting. So this is going to generate a pretty detailed deck. I'm not going to show it in this video. I'll show it in a separate video once we've got more of the pages populated, since it pulls information from all the various pages to populate that deck. Project analytics and task tools. So this is another just handy tab for the project manager, so they can see tasks that have been completed to date, and have they been on time, have they been late. Incomplete tasks, again, are tasks on track, are they tracking behind. You can see what the baseline history of the project is. So let's say there's been multiple baselines that have been done. They could see that whole history of those changes and why they were made. They can see tasks that are due within the next 2 weeks, tasks that are scheduled to start within the next week. So these really just help wrangle your core team meetings, so you help keep people focused on what's coming up, what's going to be due here, what's due to start. It just makes setting that agenda much easier, because it's all the information is here based on your schedule and the information that you've populated. So as we get this populated over the next couple of videos here, I will come back and look at this page so that it's just clear how this works and what information it shows. The last thing I'll just quickly touch on this video is these various pages for each project. So we're on the project details page here. That's kind of the starting point where you populate a lot of this information, as I said before. You've got the project schedule page, the resource allocation page, your budget page, project risks, so you'll capture all your project risks there as you would in a risk register. Very powerful tool. Action items and issues, so you can capture any open action items that you need to for the project. Any issues that you need to capture, you can capture there. Documents, you can capture any documents you'd like to house here. This is really more for archiving, not necessarily a highly collaborative tool. I think most people have Teams, things like that, that they can use for collaboration. But as far as project document archiving, that's where this can go. It can be used as a working space, though, if you don't have any other kind of collaboration tool. It can be, you can upload files, you can create folders, so it is useful for that if you'd like to use it in that capacity. There's also a project document tracker that you can create here. We'll go into a little bit more detail on that in another video, but again, rather than using Excel or some other tool, you can have a document tracker here on this that you can use for the project. For the project schedule, as you can see, this just starts with a basic Gantt format. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this video. We'll talk more about it in detail in another video. But if I were to change the methodology to Agile and click Save, you can see if I go back to the schedule that this now changes to more of a Kanban style, and you can run this as a truly agile project. You can set up your sprints. So we'll go into more of that in another video. So the last thing that we'll look at just quickly in this video is the manual project creation process. So let's say that you've got a functional initiative that is just being run by a single department, doesn't necessarily need to go through project intake and the broader review team. Doesn't really touch a whole lot of other departments. What we can do then is we can just come back to our project list. We can click New Project, and we'll just call this Functional Project. Give it a description. You do have to still select a portfolio. So typically what you would do here is you would have set up just a separate portfolio for, say, functional projects. That could be used by, again, say the R&D team, quality, operations, whoever, and you could set up multiple of these. You could even set up one for each department if you'd like. That's certainly good practice to do that as well. For now, I'll just use new product development since it's what's been created, and we'll give it a manual prioritization score. This doesn't really matter for functional projects, although if you do want this to be visible as part of the broader portfolio, we can give this a score. Let's just call it a 3.00, and we click Create Project, and there we are. So we've now created our new project, and it's in our project list. So just a quick way to create a new project manually if, say, you don't necessarily have a well-defined intake process. If you're just looking to get something started really quickly, you don't necessarily want to jump into all of that portfolio configuration detail, which is like, hey, we just need to get some projects going. That's the quick way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there for this video, and we'll cover some more of the details in those different project pages in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful to you, and I will see you in the next video.